Alright YouTube, back again, and if you can see this unit here, you probably notice straight away that this isn't an analog unit at all. Yeah, it's very old, but it's sure as hell isn't analog. So why are we looking at it? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning and the start of this blog series, whatever you want to call it, it's not just analog, it's really about really old pieces of kit and getting the most out of them and getting the best of these old pieces of kit and discarding the crap. So that's part of the reason why we've got this Casio RZ1 up, which is what we're looking at today. It's Casio RZ1 drum machine, sampling drum machine. It's pretty cheap, which is another reason why we're looking at it, and it's still available. So with all those things, I felt like I should include it this time around, and to give us a break from sort of the remorseless reviews of analog drum machines. So let me just stop this pattern that's playing in the background for a second. There we go. Silence is golden. Why should you get this? There's two reasons. One, clap sound. Two, the hat sound. Clap sound and the hat sound have been used in a lot of modern dance, modern electronica. You'll hear it ticking over in some Richie Hawtin stuff. Richie Hawtin's a big fan of this drum machine. Heart house stuff. And of course, the classic Steve Poindexter track, Work That Motherfucker, which if you haven't heard Work That Motherfucker, it's a classic track using nothing but this unit. Nothing but this unit. The guy probably sold, a couple of 100,000 copies of it back in the day when people used to buy records. Remember that? Yeah, I know. He probably sold a couple of 100,000 and made himself a fat ton of money using nothing but this unit when it first came out. Okay? Now, don't kid yourself. This isn't a Lindrum. This isn't an SP1200. This is not an Akai. Okay, it was a budget unit aimed at budget musicians, I guess, with the glorious add-on of 4 sample banks capable of, get this kids, 1.6 seconds of sample time at 12-bit, and that was the cutting edge in 1985-6 when this came out. I never got this unit. I didn't have. I thought this was bullshit, which in a way it is. I mean, I was like, why would anyone want that? The reason why I'd want it now is because of that 12-bit sound. It's a very, very dirty, aggressive sound, and you're not going to really hear it as well as I'd like on this demonstration video, simply because I've just got stereo outs. And it's going straight to a desk with no verb, no treatments, no EQ, no compression, nothing. So you can actually hear the raw state of it, which might sound terrible, but at the end of the day, it's going to give you a better review. So the sounds. Again, I'm going to press the sounds, the clap, and you're like, wow, big deal. Trust me, it's a cool sound. Now, whilst not a dead ringer for a 909, there's a lot of crossover because it's the same sort of, sampling technology. Nothing's tunable. What you get is what you get. You can't do anything with this, sound-wise. Just these preset sounds. The rides aren't bad. Crash isn't bad. It's again quite 909-y, but it's a little bit more truncated because they didn't have the sample sound. The snare is nothing like a 909, but it's surprisingly useful. The rim, 909-ish, but wait till we get to the kick. Nothing like a 909. Now, quickly. What you've got to do is you've got to get something underneath this kick, and that's not a problem because you've got a sampler on it. But you've got another issue, which you'll find people warning you about, telling you about this machine. So I'm going to repeat the warnings and repeat the tellings, if that's the right thing to say. The sample side of it will not play back in perfect time with the presets. So, in other words, you've got your pattern programmed up and you're like just about to program in your samples. The problem with that is the samples have a very short delay at the front. They'll be very, very truncated slightly at the front. So they will be pushed out of time by a couple of, enough for you to notice and enough for it to be highly irritating and not be able to use the sound. The only way you can get around that is what Steve Poindexter did, which is basically utilize these for sort of like a rhythmical vocal sort of element, or something that's rhythmical but doesn't have to be precisely timed a la the drums. What you can do is you can put like a sub sort of kick drum down to double up this really shitty kick drum that they've given you, so you can get a workable kick. In fact, you can get a really workable sound out of it when it's rocking and it's all programmed up, and you've got all your fills. It's a rocking unit. But what I prefer to do is to get something like that, quite subby, into it to double up. And if I press the play, so no kick drum, more kick. I mean, I could show that, I could do that a little bit better for you, but you get the general idea. You've got to double up using this sample underneath here. Pattern creation is very, very simple, very straightforward. I'm not going to go into it right now, but one thing I am going to tell you is, unlike the Roland series of drum machines like the 808 and the 909, you can't preview one pattern into another. So you're like, I've got pattern 1, now I want to hear pattern 2. No, it doesn't work like that. You've just got to play pattern 2 and keep in your brain what pattern 1 sounded like, or alternatively, link patterns 1 and 2 into a song, which is a massive pain in the arsehole, because you've got a 2-bar pattern which you've then got to copy 50 times in order just to hear those 2 patterns running together. So you see how irritating that is. Obviously, this is like the dawn of a lot of this technology, a lot of the sampling side of it and digital drum machines. So they're working this out, and these guys all they should have done is just completely copy the 909 architecture, and it would have been a much, much better unit, but they didn't, and it is what it is. Like I said about the sounds, it's a mixed bag, but there's 2 real key sounds: closed hat and the claps are extremely cool, and you've heard them plenty of times. Price, let's talk about price, availability, all the rest of that stuff. I'm selling this for double what I paid for it a year ago. Okay, so that gives you an idea. Yeah, it's in demand. Yeah, it's available, but it's going up in price noticeably. I've noticed this unit in particular is getting more and more popular. What else to say about it? A very cool thing, like the 909, is you have here a row of separate outs with sliders, which really is quite a professional touch. Something you'd expect to see in, say, like an RX-15 or something. The more expensive contemporary drum machines. This was a budget unit, so to have all this huge array. I mean, I think there's 12 outs, including the stereo outs, so that really does make a huge difference. And to be frank with you, once you've got a lot of these drums and separate outs and treated, it's a whole new machine. So, you take it where you want to take it. When you consider the price and the fact that it's built like a tank, I mean, this thing is solid. Yeah, this isn't going to screw up on you. This is not some Chinese bullshit that's going to screw up on you in like a year's time, or after 2 gigs, or someone spills something on it. Forget it. This thing's going to be cool. Which is another good reason to get it. The build quality of a lot of these old units is very high. The downside of this is you need one of those tiny little watch batteries to replace the battery that runs the sampler, because that memory, that's got to be stored somehow. It's stored onto one of those tiny little, I don't know what they are, 1.5 volts. I don't even know how many volts they are, and it's a pain in the ass to open the unit and to get that battery in there if you're not technically capable, which I'm not, to be honest with you. I'm not taking this stuff apart. For me personally, it's all about getting the stuff into a track. Now, speaking of which, We're going to run a couple of sections or a couple of segments of a track using this machine and nothing else but this machine for the drums. So you can hear, okay, right, you know, I can get something pretty workable out of this and pretty unique, and I guarantee you no one else, or very few people, are going to have exactly the same sounds. Yes, you can get all these sounds on any website, and yes, you can sample them, and no, it shouldn't be a big deal because they're just samples, yeah? But that's not how it works. If you've been watching this series for a while, you've picked up that part of the reason to get drum machines, as opposed to just a $1.99 sample bank, is the performance element. The performance is what it's all about. And put the performance of the hi-hat in particular on this unit is excellent. And again, I'm not really showing it in all its glory. So that's about it. Sorry I haven't been about for a while. We're probably going to come back with another quick review of yet another very early, I think 16-bit this time, drum machine, which is probably where we're going to draw the line there. I mean, really, for me, I draw the line at about the late 80s, because from the late 80s on, as far as I'm concerned, everybody just started making more or less garbage. I mean, there's a few units out there that were cool, but by and large, when production started moving to China, well, we all know what happened. Everything turned to shit. So I'll be back with an HR16, and at least this HR16, and then we'll go back into our normal sort of channel of stuff, which will be analog drum machines, analog equipment, and analog processing, that sort of thing. I hope you're all going to have a great new year. Please feel free to drop me a line. I probably will respond. Thanks for everybody who's bigged up the tracks at the end of the video. I appreciate it. And finally, if you've got, half an hour spare, 45 minutes spare, or whatever, please check out some of my, the documentaries on my channel. And you're thinking, how does this guy go from international terrorism to, analog drum machines? I don't know either. So, there you go. So, speak to you soon. Bye for now.